Sentencing the 8 British Pakistanis and 1 Afghan man, the judge said that the victims had been treated as though they were worthless. One of the factors leading to that was the fact, he said, that they were not part of your community or religion. The court had been told that the gang of men had preyed on white girls in the Lancashire town of Haywood, in some cases raping them, in the words of the judge, callously, viciously and violently. Gerald Clifton went on to say all of you treated them as though they were worthless and beyond any respect. One of the factors leading to that was the fact that they were not part of your community or religion. A number of people today have joined in the calls for further investigations as to whether the case was dealt with by Greater Manchester Police with a degree of political correctness.
Some worked as taxi drivers, some worked in takeaways. They worked together, they conspired to groom young, vulnerable girls in Rochdale. One was as young as 13. They gave these girls free food, alcohol, cannabis in some cases. In return, they got sex. If these girls refused, then these men used violence against them.
But what is causing concern here in the town is a statement by the police that they believe there may be dozens more victims in this particular case. This issue of grooming has caused a great deal of concern, and they may indeed believe that other men may have been involved too. However, of those convicted, all of them are Asian.
They targeted young girls because they were not part of their community or religion. The men of Pakistan and Afghan origin were sentenced to a total of 77 years in jail for grooming their victims for sex. And handing down the jail terms, the judge accused the group of being driven by lust and greed and treating the children like they were worthless.
Among those who asked whether political correctness may have played a part in the police approach to the case was the Education Secretary.
I don't think that political correctness should get in the way.
The judge, when he was sentencing these men, said to the defendants that the girls chosen, the victims chosen by these defendants, quote, were chosen because they were not of your community or religion.
I was 12. The men were in their late 20s. I was in a relationship with one. Then he would start asking me to have sex with his brothers, his friends.
They target the most vulnerable. Teenagers, often young girls, befriended by older men who go on to abuse, rape and exploit them.
In the last 10 years, there's been a huge increase in on-street grooming, as it's known, especially in the North and in the Midlands. Controversially, the victims have been reported as mainly white, the perpetrators as Pakistani Muslims.
She just became a completely different person. She was really aggressive and defensive. She just didn't want to spend any time with us at all.
She was just 14. Her boyfriend worked in his father's takeaway.
She just trusted somebody who destroyed her trust, really. He just passed her around to other people for his own pleasure. It's quite evil, really.
Some campaigners have claimed that the authorities are reluctant to tackle the issue of grooming because of political correctness. A number of police forces we approached don't even record the ethnicity of offenders.
Up to 50 more men could be wanted in connection with this ring.
That's come from a briefing that Greater Manchester Police have given, and it does indicate that another 50 people, we believe, from that same South Asian community may well be arrested in the coming days in connection with this ongoing inquiry. CEOP are investigating why there may be a majority of Asians in these particular kinds of offence. Now, Mohammed Shafiq, who's from the Ramadan Foundation, has gone...
So that's like a Muslim community leader,
yes,
isn't
absolutely.
He? Yeah.
Is immersed in that community, and he has gone further. He has said in a statement this afternoon, if you look at 77 recent convictions, 67 are Pakistani men, and therefore common sense would tell you that we have a problem, that we have an over-representation of British Pakistani men. And he goes on to say, we've got to be honest and open to deal with this issue. They think that white girls are worthless. They think that they can use and abuse these girls without a second thought. So, I mean, very strong comments coming from Mohammed Shafiq there, and really kind of flying in the face of the official comments that we were getting yesterday.
Mohammed Shafiq is a campaigner who believes sensitivities around race have meant that the authorities and the community have been reluctant to deal with the issue.
So in the community they're married and they have children, which is respectability, but they don't want to mix that with their outside interest of child grooming. So they want to keep it separate, and that's why they think it's easier, because they can do what they like with these white girls and nobody will find out in the community.
Recent high-profile convictions have involved mainly Pakistani gangs. Detectives say they learnt lessons following Operation Retriever in 2010. This footage shows members of a British Pakistani gang picking up young, mainly white girls. A subsequent review criticised care agencies for missing opportunities to protect the girls. We've spoken to this teenager who was just 12 when she was groomed. Whenever she ran away from home, she was offered somewhere to stay by a group of older men.
There was loud music and there were drugs and everyone was laughing and joking.
But they soon started asking for sexual favours in return for letting her stay.
The other lads would ask me to do stuff with them and I'd think, why is my boyfriend asking me to have sex with someone else?
What the organisations who work with these girls are saying authorities need to take on board is that fundamentally this is about men raping and sexually abusing children, in this case as young as 13, in other cases younger. And that is what the authorities need to keep at the forefront of their mind if they're to make any inroads into tackling this problem.
And what do you make of suggestions that there is, to a certain extent, a race issue involved in crimes like this?
I know that in some parts of the country there is a racial element to this. I'm not going to deny it. So these children are really vulnerable, and we've let them be targeted by these very clever perpetrators. One little girl last week said to me, if the perpetrators can find us, why can't anybody else?
And what about what they hear in court, these youngsters and these vile men saying that basically they're young girls, young white girls who are asking for it?
And they're 14, 15. They might look as though they're mini adults, but they're children. Some of them have been leading very traumatised, very scarred lives. They're incredibly vulnerable. These people have sought them out like heat-seeking missiles and used and abused and thrown them away like commodities. We need to wake up to the fact that this is happening all over the UK today. Barnardo's is working with 1,200 children. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
More arrests expected is what we're told.
Well, certainly Greater Manchester Police have always thought that there were more men involved in this case than the 9 who were convicted and have been jailed today. Sources talk about as many as up to 50 suspects. These cases do highlight that Asian males have been involved in an organised manner in exploiting young women. The whole debate, I suppose, was prompted by a similar case in Derby last year when Jack Straw at the end of it said that there were some Pakistani men who saw white girls as easy meat.
77 years for 9 men at Liverpool Crown Court for the grooming of these white girls. We mentioned the fact that they are white girls and they are mostly Pakistani men because Mohammed Shafiq, chief executive of the Ramadan Foundation, has said community elders are burying their heads over the issue and it is a big ethnicity issue. You disagreed, I heard this morning.
I don't believe this is a race issue. I think it's wrong to start saying this is the Pakistani community or members of the Pakistani community as someone who represents a constituency that is very diverse. 51% of my constituents are of Asian origin. Let us not dance to the tune of the BNP. Let us not dance to the tune of the BNP.
أشهد أن لا لنا في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قدوة حسنة، حيث عقد على زوجته عائشة وكان سنها 6 سنوات، وبنى عليها يعني دخل عليها صلى الله عليه وسلم 9 سنوات.
يقول 6 سنوات.
لا، عقد عليها وهي 6
وتزوجها
يعني
متى؟
العقد في 6 والبناء اللي هو الدخول في 9 سنوات. ولنا في رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم
إله إلا الله.
مرورنا في بغداد أراد الإمام أن يرتاح من عناء السفر، فأمر بالتوجه إلى منطقة العطيفية. تتنطق كده مضبوط؟
صح.
طيب، حيث يسكن هناك رجل إيراني الأصل يقال له سيد صاحب. كانت بينه وبين الإمام معرفة قوية، وبعدين فرح سيد صاحب بمجيئنا، وكان وصولنا إليه عند الظهر، فصنع لنا غداء فاخرا. دخلنا يا دكتور.
نعم.
ولما حان وقت النوم وكان الحاضرون قد انصرفوا إلا أهل الدار، أبصر الخميني صبية بعمر 4 سنوات أو 5 سنوات، لكنها جميلة جدا. فطلب الإمام من أبيها سيد صاحب إحضارها للتمتع بها. وافق أبوها بفرح بالغ، فبات الإمام الخميني والصبية في حضنه. شوف بقول إيه؟ ونحن نسمع بكاءها وصراخها طوال الليل. عيلة 4 سنوات، وهذا الصبية عندها 4 سنوات، يعني من القبل والدبر حتى البنت تبكي وتصرخ ولا رحمة في قلبه. المهم أنه أمضى تلك الليلة يا دكتور.
رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح.